This confirms it. In what has been a crazy 48 hours for the Toronto Maple Leafs, we have a brand new bombshell report as it pertains to Brendan Shanahan and his future in Toronto that not only stems from the front office, but stems from ownership and much more than that. We're going to break down exactly what that report is. It tells us a lot about Brendan Shanahan's future in Toronto. We also have some other updates as things keep getting crazier by the hour here. And today was the day that ownership met with MLSC, met with, of course, the front office and others. And there is a lot of info that has started to come out. We're going to break down each of those things as well as a bunch more on this episode. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, about 71% of you who are watching right now aren't. You guys are absolute beasts. You've been supporting like crazy. So thank you guys for that. You guys have been fantastic. If you want to help us towards our big goal of 30,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We just hit 20,000. So the next big goal is, of course, 30. Your guys' support's been unbelievable. This is the place to be for daily Leafs content every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it. There's a ton to go over. Now, obviously, we've been covering on this channel Brendan Shanahan and his future in Toronto. Of course, there's other conversations about Mitch Marner, all these different things, but the number one piece of business, it seems, from MLSC and ownership here, Rogers, is specifically Brendan Shanahan and his future. And let's dive right into it here. There's a lot to go over. So this came out an hour or so ago. An announcement is possible at any time that Brendan Shanahan won't be back. The Leafs are expected to move forward without a president for now, with Keith Pelly assuming an active role above Treliving. MLSC is going to be making cuts in the weeks to come. Ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty big here. We're going to dive into the exact article and discuss what it means. But of course, we've been waiting now over the past few hours here today. But of course, today was the day MLSC had that meeting with the front office as well as others discussing the future of not only this team, when it comes to management, but bigger changes beyond that as well here that, correlate with the Raptors and a bunch of craziness. But this report dropped and it seems, it's all but confirmed at this point that Brendan Shanahan's time is coming to an end with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's had a very good, not a very good tenure with the Leafs, depending on how you look at it. Of course, he didn't win many playoff series, but at the end of the day, this seems to be the end for Brendan Shanahan. Now, let's dive into what the exact things were. So let's start with this, and this is from the article here from The Insider. Remaking the Leafs, the fallout from Toronto's Game 7 loss last weekend is playing out with some Game of Thrones level intrigue, according to this insider. Maple Leafs ownership has a board meeting, which was today, where they'll discuss the path forward, including the future of Brendan Shanahan. And you can see here, it is likely his time is up. And we also have a big update as it pertains to the Islanders' pursuit of Shanahan, as he's already been given permission to speak, which we covered yesterday. And we have an update on that, which we'll dive into in a minute here. But it seems more and more likely by the passing minute, the passing day, that he is going to be, at least not with the Leafs, and a very good chance that he's going to be with the New York Islanders in a much bigger role than initially thought here. And this one's very interesting. You see this here. There's some circularity here regarding Shanahan and the Islanders. But this is the new report here. And of course, Shanahan wouldn't be the GM in New York. However, Lightning assistant GM appears to be the front runner for that role, although the situation is fluid. So if he is hired by the Islanders, he would be taking over a different role here with the Islanders, which is interesting. But another piece of news as it pertains to the Leafs, craziness right now, the Leafs are expected to move forward without a president, with Keith Pelly assuming an active role above GM Brad Treliving, and MLSC is going to be making cuts throughout the organization in the weeks to come. This would be just the start of their streamlining. So a bunch to go over here. Now, obviously, basically, this article all but confirms that Shanahan's going to be going elsewhere. That's not the Toronto Maple Leafs, probably the Islanders. And if he goes to the Islanders, there's going to be some interesting roles there, some role shifting around. But it also means that they're going to be without, a Brendan Shanahan equivalent, and Keith Pelly's going to step into the role of overseeing Brad Treliving's operations. Now, this is all assuming that Brad Treliving remains in, Toronto, and we all know most likely they're going to give Brad Treliving, a lot of B's here, another chance. And if that's the case, which we assume it will be, it's going to be interesting to see how things kind of, shape up here with Keith Pelly being above Brad Treliving. And we know in the press conference last year, following the Leafs getting eliminated in Game 7, Keith Pelly said they want to win. Their focus isn't on selling jerseys. They don't really care about selling jerseys. And they're going to let the hockey people, handle that. That's what Keith Pelly essentially said. And it's very interesting to see now that, it's all but confirmed that Shanahan's not going to be back. But also the roles beyond that are extremely interesting as well, with being without a president. And we're also seeing cuts. And it's not just the Leafs, it's also the Raptors as well. And there's a bunch of ongoing, pieces and there's a bunch of ongoing, movement right now, because the Leafs, there's a real good world. We've been talking about it on the channel, Brad Schliving, he could still go, but there is going to be some monumental shakeup here. Is what's clear. We haven't had an offseason like this in the Core 4 era where not only is Mitch Marner a pending UFA, John Tavares, the focus isn't even on the players right now. It isn't on the GM. It's on the president, Brendan Shanahan, to be, I guess, let go because of whether you want to admit or at least dispute whether Brendan Shanahan failed or not. He changed this team around for the positive regarding making the playoffs and things like that. Was the playoff success there? No, it really wasn't. But and let me know down below in the comment section right now. Were you happy with the Shana plan? Now, obviously, the Shana plan didn't work in 10 years, but they turned themselves around into at least a perennial playoff team. But us as fans, we are not, content with losing in the first round every year. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. But again, this is a new report here. The talk in league circles is that Brendan Shanahan will be interviewed for the dual role of president of hockey operations and general manager with the New York Islanders. So a little bit of not conflicting reports necessarily, but conflicting reports a little bit between whether he's going to be just, the GM in New York, all these different things. But it seems that this specific, which of course it dropped yesterday, that the Leafs were going to allow him to, speak with the Islanders. It seems now that that's only continuing to escalate, which is something that, makes sense. But at the same time, it's almost the writing is on the wall here. And that seems to be what's going to be happening with this Toronto Maple Leafs team, and especially being confirmed here regarding, of course, Brendan Shanahan and his future. And I think it's about time. But again, it's very intriguing surrounding specifically the Keith Pelly situation. It'd be interesting to see who, not a direct hockey guy, him having the role above GM Brad Schliving. That gives Brad Schliving some more power here. And some people think Brad Schliving has done a great job so far. Some people are on the other side saying he overpaid at the trade deadline. That's up to you guys. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. I think he's done a fine job so far. But at the end of the day, we are coming to, a culmination of information here. And we know that today, of course, was the day where that board meeting happened. And whether or not, we're going to hear from Brad Schliving and, hope maybe, Brendan Shanahan, probably Brad Schliving and Keith Pelly at this rate at some point. And once that point comes, we're going to have a lot more clarity. But a few other things to go over today as well, because things continue to get a little bit crazier. Let's just kind of have an outline here of what the team is looking like, because we've been talking about Brendan Shanahan, and that's going to be the number one focus here, at least for the time being. But the UFAs right now that the Leafs also have, and we'll have tons of videos on this, but it's Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Steven Lorentz, Max Pacioretty, Yanni Hakanpää. Pacioretty and Yanni Hakanpää are probably gone because Patches doesn't want to be near, he wants to be closer to his family, and Yanni Hakanpää, weird situation. They have to try to bring back Steven Lorentz. John Tavares, they're probably going to bring back depending on a budget-friendly deal. And of course, Mitch Marner's fluid situation. I think the only RFA they're bringing back here is Matthew Knies. And we're talking about monumental change. This isn't just going to be monumental change for, the Toronto Maple Leafs front office. This is going to be huge changes from the players, I think everything. And we know, of course, that I believe the Kraken are also interviewing Lane Lambert for a head coaching role and all these different things. The associate coach for the Leafs this year for Craig Berube, alongside, of course, Mark Savard, the power play coach. Tons of things are going on right now, and the movement's only going to get crazier. And whether or not you think that Brendan Shanahan is going to go or not, things are changing. Things are changing fast, and we're going to keep you up to date. And we also have some crazy things coming out from guys like Nick Kypreos talking about how the Leafs have undervalued Mitch Marner for years, and they'll pay the price when he leaves, which is a very interesting take to have. I'm bringing this up because, this is from Nick Kypreos. As the days go by, the Mitch Marner saga is going to continue to get crazier. And once this Brendan Shanahan situation, who fired, Kyle Dubas, and there were some rumblings that was because he was trying to trade Mitch Marner. Whether or not you want to believe that, of course, we don't know for sure. But we do know for sure is that there's a good chance Mitch Marner is going to be gone. But we know for sure is that there's going to be a bunch of different, outcries if Marner leaves or if Marner leaves or if Marner stays surrounding the future of this team. And we're going to keep you up to date every step of the way. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.